welcome to this week's episode of Not D&D, brought to you by EM World. I'm your host, Jessica, and this week we are talking about Bitter Chalice, and we have Tommaso here to talk about it. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi guys, it's nice to be here again. I think it was about 2 years ago, the first time I've been on the show, talking about Broken Tales with one of the collaborators. And this time it's just me talking about Bitter Chalice, our next game.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are part of a team of people that made Bitter Chalice happen. So what was your kind of role in the creation process?
So my title is creative director, which means that I approve the projects. I decide with like the authors usually suggest some things they want to do. We try to find the final form of their idea. I usually am the one who picks how the game will look, because one thing that's really important for the games of the Word Anvil publishing, which I want to remind to the listeners or whoever is viewing this episode, that it's different from Word Anvil, the word building platform. We are the Word Anvil publishing, and they are Word Anvil. So there's a bit of confusion there. But so one thing that I want for our games is that they look, they're easy to recognize. When you see an image from them, you kind of know it's from that game. And that's what we've been looking for. With Broken Tales, with Dead Air Seasons, which are both Annie nominees. And now we're trying with Bitter Chalice. The main artist here is Eric Conway, an Irish artist that has been working on he's been working on Magic, he's been working on D&D, and he's been working on a board game called Veiled Fate, among other things. I'm sure he's been doing more, but I don't know the whole full scope of his portfolio. But we thought that he had a style that was interesting. It looked very different from our previous games. And he could capture very well what we had in mind. It has a bit this Barton-esque feel, but it's a bit more grim than Barton. And it was conveying the atmospheres of the game really well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was going to say, it is a beautiful looking game. So there's some images on screen for those watching the video. And if you're listening to the podcast, there's a link in there for the Kickstarter pre-launch page, which has links to an overview download guide, which has images in, so you can get the theme and tone. So it's going to be a gorgeous looking game, as we would expect from you, like we say, and a very definite, clear theme and tone that you're trying to invoke. For those listening to the podcast, could you give us an overview of the setting of Bitter Chalice? So if people can't see the images, what is the story? What is the world?
Yeah, so when it comes to the mood, we've been very inspired by the mysterious parts of games, video games like the Dark Souls series, Elden Ring. I think there's a lot of Hollow Knight in here, maybe not in the graphic style, but in the history of the world. If somebody has played through Hollow Knight, they probably know that melancholic feeling. That's the mood we were going for. And the idea of the game is that there is the city called Vatan, which has been cursed over time. It used to be a place where this mysterious substance called holy water was created by the characters that, whoever is watching the video can see. The woman is called Edelorius, is the one responsible for the creation of this spring from which the holy water comes from. And this holy water was used to cure all kind of ailments. However, there's been some events that happen in the game, kind of curse the city, and everything inside it becomes infected. So what happens is that the city is sealed off with these huge walls, and everybody inside is left to their own device, and they start to descend into this kind of madness and thirst and hunger that would remind some people of Bloodborne, always to have a reference with the software games. So the people inside are trying everything they can to find something they can eat, something they can drink to survive. And because everything inside is cursed, sometimes they resorted to drinking blood or cannibalism or things like that. It's not always so grim, but there's also that part of the game. The characters are gonna be called dowsers, and they are sent from outside the city, from various regions of the world to try to find if this holy water still exists. They're usually the worst of the people available around the world. That they are usually criminals, grave robbers, people that dabble in dark magic and alchemy and things like that. They're basically put inside the walls and say that, listen, you can come out only when you find this holy water. And the whole game is going to be this kind of search for this holy water. I like to call this game as a playable campaign because it's very highly authored. There's going to be 33 locations that people can discover on a huge A2 size map. And the locations are going to be discovered one by one. Once the characters can go to a location, the players are supposed to put a sticker on the map, so forever changing the map in a way. Moving from one location to the others consumes a resource that is called hourglasses, which is basically time. And that's important because different things happen in these locations according to the time of day when people arrive in them. So during the day and during the night, there might be different encounters. You might find different NPCs. There might be different events that take place, secret boss, things like that. So we want to remind very much about the kind of From Software games in that way. And there's also going to be another thing that links the game to that kind of Souls games. They're called the tiers. At some point, the characters are going to be able to find the chalice of the title, and the chalice is going to be able to transport these tiers for them. And the tiers are what they're going to use to level up. So they're going to be XP, but the interesting thing is that they can also be lost, a bit like in the From Software games. So it's a resource that they need to carefully decide how to carry around. And that's a kind of an interesting part of the game that you don't see very often.
Definitely. Yeah, I love very much. I was really intrigued when I saw the inspiration, like you said, about Hollow Knight and Dark Souls, and so for the mood and the tone of it. But it's not. I think it's not going to feel, by the sounds of it, as frustrating as some of those games are. You know, when you get stuck.
This is something I've been struggling a bit because I wanted to put in the campaign, then I removed it because it sounded weird. But now you're bringing it up again, so maybe it should be there. That I don't want people. I'm not very good at those games. I finished Hollow Knight. All the Souls game, I'm somewhere around 40 hours, and then I kind of give up. I don't want people to feel that they're gonna die continuously and have to redo long stretches of the game. This is not what the game is about. The similarities are more in the atmosphere, the sense of discovery. There's gonna be weird little characters that are gonna do hee at the end, you know, when you talk with them. That kind of the very specific From Software kind of NPC. That's the mood. Like, you're not gonna repeat long stretches of the game all the time. That's not what we want.
Absolutely. So it was nice to see that element being brought in from the games, but not the frustrating bits, which is nice. I mean, and looking at the game, it's really interesting that it comes in a box, and you, like you say, you have this map and there's stickers, and that's a really key link to the mechanics of how the kind of game works. And it reminded me a bit of if you played legacy board games and things like that, because when you finish the game,
that was the inspiration.
You're going to have this amazing map which has your group's kind of story on, which will be kind of interesting and a really nice thing to have, I guess.
So every box is going to contain one map and one sticker sheet. Probably there's going to be two because there's a lot of stickers. But then if people think that they are going to play this with more groups, we're going to offer you can basically get more maps and more stickers if you want. However, this is a big campaign, and we think that we're going to offer various ways to go through it, depending on how much time every group has, because we know that not everybody can play the same game for 2 years. You can run through the whole game probably in about 10 sessions. And then it's kind of moderate length. And then if you want to explore every corner of Vatan, which is the area, then it's going to be as long as maybe 40 sessions. So there's a lot of gameplay here, a lot of things to discover. There might be encounters you do in one area that open up new path in another area. So that's the kind of synergy we want with this exploration and the locations and
Yeah. So what sort of mechanics is the game looking at? So we have dice, or is it more narrative, or how do we interact with the story?
Yeah, so this is a good question. So this game doesn't use the same system of our previous games. We decided together with the authors, which I should mention because I'm not the author. So the two guys that are writing this are called Giacomo Gordesco and Enrico Fabio. They are longtime collaborators. They've been working on some of our Italian games since the very beginning, because both of them are involved with this one, which came out only in Italian. It's for whoever is listening, it's called Nostalgia. It's a science fiction kind of space opera thing. It was critically acclaimed. We never translated it. It uses its own system, and I think if we ever do a new edition, we probably want to change a bit how the whole thing works. It's they were involved from the very beginning with this game, and over time we've been doing other things. Enrico Fabio also is one of the author of Dead Air Seasons, which was nominated for best setting at the Ennis. So you can at least expect kind of a high level of a good level of writing, and the story it's really strong. It revolves around very strong characters, and you can expect the kind of same, as I said, mood that you would have from an Elden Ring or things like that. When it comes to the system, I said it is slightly more crunchy. We wanted to offer, first of all, more strategic depth in combat. Every choice you're going to make is going to be very important. The powers of the characters are going to work well in synergy. This is a game that where we strongly invited the party not to split, where we think that it works best when everybody's in the same place at once. You will be able to split if you want, but I think it's just...
But maybe don't.
It became harder for you, so probably you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like the travel between these areas is fairly long, so you're going to be very distant from the other guys. And it works with some sort of target. I forget now how we translated it, but basically you need to reach a certain number of milestones. When you declare what you want to do, the GM says, okay, this is going to be require you 4 different successful milestones, and then together we need to figure out what those 4 steps are going to be. And sometimes they can be dismissed if it makes narrative sense, but otherwise everybody has to work so that the number of these milestones is achieved. That's the basic of the game. And when it comes to the combat, one interesting thing that we try to bring from this kind of games that we use as a reference is that, for example, the bosses have, or the bigger enemies have phases, which means that after you consume their first energy bar, in a way, they're gonna come back with a full new set of moves. So you have to change your strategy in combat to face the second part of their form, in a way, which is a very video gamey thing to do. And that's why the game is a bit more crunchy, because there's going to be a lot of tactical decisions that the group has to take while on the battlefield, positioning, what powers to activate and when, and this kind of stuff. The other mechanics that are interesting is that you're going to have some kind of stress resource that you can consume to re-roll some dice. The main mechanic is that you roll 3 dice, and you need to achieve a result of 11 or more for positive outcome and 10 or less for a negative. But it's a bit more complicated than that. Like sometimes you might get like, okay, the actions succeed, but then there's also a complication, and there are different tiers of complication and successes you can have there. I think it's easier if somebody sees the chart, but basically you can spend these resources to re-roll some dice whenever you think, okay, I need to achieve a better result here. You can bring into play some memories, which means the things that you did in the past that are going to help you during the roll. And another important resource is going to be at the bottom of the sheet. There's going to be, let me bring it up here. There's going to be a kind of counter that determines how hungry you are and how much of infected food you had to eat to survive, because that also brings some complications into the game. Sometimes you will have to eat some food that is spoiled, and that makes your life temporarily better, but in the long term you are gonna descend into madness, right? So there's gonna be a lot of resource management, and in this way we also think it's a bit fitting that it has this box, because some part of it is slightly board gamey, even though the big chunk is role play. Like once you're in a location, it's pure role play. When you move on the map, you have to decide how many hourglasses to spend to move from one part to the other. Another resource we're going to have are black marks. Sometimes if you get particular results with the dice, the GM gets this black mark that they can spend later to make your life more difficult or make things happen that technically the rules are not supporting in that specific moment, like new enemy, or like, I mean, if you're in allocations and the description says that there are no creatures, but you use a black mark, then you can introduce some creatures that are making the life more difficult for players.
Okay.
So you basically, it's always a game of deciding how much risk you want to take now, and knowing that for every favor you get now, you might get some problems later, which I think makes the game interesting.
Absolutely. So we talked a little bit about the characters people were playing earlier. Like you said, they're the kind of the lowest of the low being sent in to do this not very fun and desirable thing. So the characters come with like playbooks that have kind of different classes and origins. Could you talk a little bit about some of those?
Yeah, so we're going to start the campaign with 8 classes, and we hope to unlock more because we have ideas for more. I can read what we're going to have in the beginning. We're going to have the soldier, the savage, the condemned, the assassin, the inquisitor, the alchemist, the grave robber, and the crusader. And additional classes we're hoping to unlock. They are even a bit more extreme. So we have the iconoclast is one, for example, and I need to check what's the list. But so from this list, you can understand that all of them are a bit, maybe in a way, negative characters.
Sure.
They've been sent to Vatan because they deserve it in a way. So it usually doesn't happen that you get sent there if you're innocent. Usually it's your punishment. Like, okay, you did something, now you go there and you can come out only if you get this for us. That was a conscious choice, a bit because it fits the mood of the game, a bit because it opens up interesting gameplay possibilities when all the characters are going in a certain direction. And then the interesting part is that every class can be combined with one of the origins, which are the regions from outside Vatan where the people come from. And that allows you to characterize your character a bit better and try to understand what kind of character it could have, or they could have, what kind of culture they come from. And from this origin sheets that we have there, you're going to get also additional special skills that are combining with one of the classes. So we have several combinations, because for example, the grave robber could come from one region or the other, and they're going to have different skills based on that. That's the idea. So we're going to have like a A4 sized character sheet, and which is going to be folded in 2, and you're going to put the origin sheet in between. So that's the total of the character character sheet. It's composed by 2 parts that players combine. They can
so it'll be like a little booklet in the end, because there's a lot of information there, like you say. So you'll have your origin, and then you'll have your background that you have with it. There's attributes mentioned, kind of your stress and kind of memories that play in there. There was another section on bitterness. Was that linked to what you were saying earlier about if you have to eat?
Like the bitterness gets filled when you eat spoiled food or some events in the game happen. And that, according to your level of bitterness, there might also be events that happen in the game if you are of a certain level, or if you're not of a certain level. So it's gonna be some kind of currency that you need to somehow manage in the game. Like, how much do you want to corrupt yourself to survive? Like that's a thing.
Absolutely. So from the character's point of view, I think, like you said, there is some resource management and choosing what you spend and what you keep to get through the situations you're in. But I'm wondering how managing the game works as a games master. Because for me, when I looked at this to run it, I thought, oh, well, this really big, rich world. But a lot of the work's been done for me. Like if my players say we're going to this location, doing this sticker, for me to kind of prepare the session, I know they're going here and what's there. So what sort of preparation would I need to do as a games master if I was running a session of this game?
So the preparation is very easy, because like every location is detailed. We are going to have a list. I think we have in the overview, we should have an example of that. There's going to be a list of events that can happen in that location, and each of them could lead to, I don't know, 1 hour of role playing. And some of them can happen only if it's night, only if it's day, or only if you have a certain object that you recovered in another location. So you're going to have a list of options of things that will happen in that location. And when people want to move on, they can say, okay, now we either take a rest or spend this number of hourglasses to go somewhere else. At time, it's really important, because if you waste time, at some point you have to eat. And when you have to eat, you need to decide if you have like clean food or unclean food. And the more unclean food you eat, the more your character is gonna have issues later. So that's the balance that we're trying to strike here. But basically, our goal here, a bit like we did with Broken Tales, was that people don't have to spend hours and hours to prepare a session. They're gonna have a lot to play without having to create new things. Of course, you can add stuff. But honestly, I don't think it's necessary, because, as I said, that we have probably content for 40 sessions, and I think anybody would be tired after 40 sessions of the same game. So, of course, I know that some people will say, no, but I like to add stuff to my game. I don't want to just use the scripted stuff. You can definitely do that, but you don't need to.
Absolutely. But so it sounds like it's quite easy to prep for then, because like you say, with the locations and everything being mapped out, sounds like it's all there, which is really, really great. Obviously we've been talking about the game playing collaboratively with a games master and a table of people, but I believe you also have a solo version of the game. Is that right?
Yeah. So previous version of our games, one way or the other, people have always asked, but is there solo mode? And it's always been for us some kind of afterthought, in a way that, okay, now people are asking, let's add it as a stretch goal. And we had some success there, because I think Alberto Tronchi, which is the author of several of our games, he's been writing Broken Tales, he's been writing the SRD of the system, Monadeco, he's been writing the solo mode for Dead Air Seasons. He's been writing Varraven, the Chronicles of Blood and Iron, which is the other game that is coming out this year at some point. It's already out in Italian, like the English translation is coming out this year. So he has a pretty clear idea of how to do solo mode. But for this game, we decided to do it a bit differently. And we've been exchanging, well, there are different ways we can go about it. But because we think that this is a game that shines when there are more characters involved. The last discussion I had with Giacomo, which is one of the authors, was that it would be really cool if one single person could use more than one character to go through the whole campaign. And so you might be able, as a solo player, to play with 3 or 4 characters. And now we still have work to do. So some things are still in flux. But what we're thinking is that you're going to have probably a main character and then some supporting characters that are going to have a simpler character sheets, a bit like the Oathsworn, the board game, if somebody is familiar with that. And then you're going to be able to move more characters at once. So use all the synergies between them and that kind of stuff. And basically play the game a bit like choose your own adventure in a way, something like that. So we think it can work that way, and I recently encouraged him to pursue that direction because it's a bit different from what we've done in the past, which is more, many solo games are kind of diaries where you write what's happening, you decide, set the scene, do a lot of work yourself, and you write down everything. And we think this could work more as a pre-authored experience where you control the characters and the events are told to you, so you don't have to come up with what happens. It's something we're experimenting with. I think it sounded pretty convincing last time we discussed this. The guys are still working on the main multiplayer part of the game, so solo gameplay probably is going to be finalized later. But that's where we are with that. And I thought that I know a lot of people want solo game. Some people don't have a group to play with, but they still want to play games. And I decided let's put it in from the very beginning. So it's there.
Yeah, sounds good. And speaking of the game, you're talking about some things are still in development and being made. So you've got a crowdfunding campaign planned for this year. What sort of timelines are you looking at for the crowdfunding and for the game being made?
Yeah, so this is an interesting question because I thought that we could do it very soon, like in just a few weeks. I think we came to the conclusion that because we are in the middle of fulfillment of our previous game, which definitely exists because I have it here. Lost Stories. These are some of the rewards of the previous game. This is a master screen. We're in the middle of fulfillment. So Italy is completely done. Europe is starting this week. And the US and the rest of the world, I think half of it is done and half still supposed to continue in the next few days. I think we're going to be done completely in a couple of weeks. We're trying to solve a problem, which I was mentioning earlier before we started recording. Some goods got lost on the way. And these are like exclusives. Like these are the exclusives of the game. And they are basically in almost every package. And we cannot proceed until we get them to the distribution hub. So the first package that contained those things, nobody can find it. And then we sent another package full of replacements, and that package got lost. So we're trying to figure out where that package is because we still can make one shipment. And if even that one gets lost, then we are in trouble. But I can't imagine that we lose the same package 3 times. So we're trying to solve that problem. And because there is that thing, I think we decided it was wiser if we push the game, Bitter Chalice, back a few weeks in a way that most of our previous backers can get their hand on Lost Stories. You can see the quality of the stuff we do if it's the first time they support us. And then I think they're going to be much more likely to come to the new game. So because we can do that, we have a bit of flexibility on the timeline. I'm still looking to launch the game in the first quarter of this year. And I mean, barring major catastrophe, meaning we lose 3 packages of the same reward, which we did in a limited edition because it's the limited exclusives. Unless that happens, I think it's going to happen in the first quarter.
Okay, great. There is a Kickstarter pre-launch page which is up on the screen or in the show notes of the podcast if you want to click on that, and then you'll get notified when it is going to launch.
Yeah, there's another thing. If you read the whole preview at the bottom, there's also one link that sends you to a backer kit landing page. Technically speaking, if you also sign up there, leave your email there, and then you back the campaign, you get the free art prints of the covers of the game, the two covers of the game. So made by Harry Conway. I think they're our strongest piece of art. So they're going to be for sale in the campaign. You get them free if you sign up before it. So that's that.
Very nice. Okay, well, best of luck for the crowdfunding campaign. So I'll look forward to that. I'm on the Kickstarter pre-launch page, so looking forward to seeing that. Before you go, though, I would like to ask if you have any recommendations for any other tabletop games. So I don't know, in the last 2 years since you've been on the show, if you've seen any games that you've bought or looking forward to playing or have played that you'd like to give a shout out to.
Yeah, let me go grab so finally, after years of hearing about it, I've been buying Mouse Ritter.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of people told me, hey, it's a really cool game, and I was a bit like, I don't know, there are little mouses, I don't know if I'm ever gonna play this. This is an exceptionally good game. It's really smart. It's an OSR game about little mice doing big adventures. It is a bit grim in a lot of the things that happen. It has incredibly interesting systems, even though I think the whole rule book is probably 40 pages. The rest are like these nice adventures that are made like leaflets. And well, this is also an interesting box if you do games, because you want to see what other people are doing. And let me see if I can show something on screen for whoever is watching. Like you're having this kind of a wait, there's a pen here. These little adventures that are made like leaflets, and this is the whole adventure. This is the whole adventure, right? So I have also the expansion, which is a box full of this kind of adventures. I would recommend it to everybody because it's exceptionally good. I mean, if you're into little creatures fighting the big fight, the good fight, I would recommend the Mouse Ritter.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I think that's maybe the latest thing I've read. Then, as I was telling, I spend a lot of time testing our games, our upcoming games.
Of course.
And I've been at the beginning of the year now, during the break, we've been play testing some new stuff that will come from the same team behind Broken Tales, Alberto and Daniel. So same illustrator, same author, not Broken Tales related, a new thing. And we've been testing that to see how it could look, how does it feel, and it's going to be a very different experience. So like the different system, I think people are gonna like it. At the moment, I think we have signed 1, 2, 3, probably 4 new games.
Oh wow!
And we have discussed some others, which is insane because I don't even do this full time. So we're definitely doing more than we can handle. But there's a lot of cool things cooking for us in the future.
Excellent. So it sounds like once Bitter Chalice is launched and fulfilled, I'll have to have you back to talk about one of these other games that you're working on.
Yeah, I want to say that, like, because now I am a father of 2, we're also looking at most of our portfolio is kind of dark, grim stuff. We're also looking at having something that is a bit lighter, a little bit more family friendly. It's always maybe not the first thing you would show to your child, but something that is slightly more colorful, and so interesting stuff in the future.
Okay, well, I look forward. Well, we'll have to have you back when you're ready to announce those, and we'll talk about that in more detail. But for now, I'll say thank you so much for coming on to talk about Bitter Chalice. Best of luck for the crowdfunding, and I'm really excited to learn more when it comes out.
Thank you, Jessica. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, and thank you to everyone that's watched and listened. We'll be back next week with another indie tabletop RPG to share with you. Thanks very much. Bye.